Welcome back to Askewed Reviews. And since the Saturday Night Live 50th anniversary was not too long ago, over these next few months, I'm doing reviews for all of the movies based off of their skits. And the one that I'm doing today is the 1994 film, It's Pat the Movie. Here's your trivia question for today. What kind of car does Pat own? The answer will be at the end of this episode. So, in the film It's Pat, we meet our main character of Pat Riley, who is an androgynous individual that tends to cause a lot of chaos, annoyance, and confusion to all the people around them. Pat also seems to not have the ability of holding down a job. Now, one day, Pat meets an equally androgynous individual named Chris, and the two of them fall in love instantly. Now, it doesn't take very long for these two to get engaged and even move in together. They also end up having a nice married couple move in across the hall from them. However, though, the husband in the relationship seems to grow an obsession with Pat. One day, a karaoke performance of Pat's ends up on television, causing Pat to get some celebrity status. The 15 minutes of fame that Pat gets from this really goes to their head and ends up causing a rift between Pat and Chris. Due to Pat's self centeredness, ego, and inability to keep a job, Chris has left Pat. So, will Pat ever realize the error of their ways while also dodging the advances of their creepy neighbor Kyle and eventually figure out some way of getting Chris back? This movie was directed by Adam Bernstein. It is, of course, based off of the It's Pat sketches from Saturday Night Live. Apparently, Julia Sweeney actually created the character of Pat while being a part of the Groundlings. She also used the character in her SNL audition. Speaking of Saturday Night Live, Julia Sweeney was not the only cast member to appear in this film. You also had Charles Rocket as Kyle and Tim Meadows as the station manager. Another cast member that was almost in this film was Dana Carvey. He actually played the character of Chris on the television sketches, but he turned down the opportunity. So they then reached out to an actor who was on a different Lorne Michaels produced sketch comedy series, David Foley, who was part of The Kids in the Hall. And speaking of sketch comedies, there also were two actors in this film that were a part of Mad TV. Phil Lamar, who was the stage manager, and Mary Shear, who played the nurse at the beginning of the film. Here are some other actors that had cameos in this film that you might recognize. Timothy Stack played the doctor. Kathy Griffin played Pat's neighbor, Kathy Griffin. Kathy Najimy appears as the character of Tippy. Larry Henkin as the postal supervisor. Arlene Sorkin plays herself. Also, by the way, the television series that she's a part of, called America's Creepiest People, is not only by name but also by look supposed to be a spoof of America's Funniest People, which was kind of a spin off of America's Funniest Home Videos. Mitch Pileggi had a Blink and You'll Miss It cameo as one of the concert guards. And speaking of that concert, the band that performs there was actually the band Ween. The man that marries Pat and Chris at the end of the film was Julia Sweeney's father. This is also his only acting credit. There were also two actors that originally had cameos that were cut from the final film: Harvey Keitel as a priest and Jonathan Richman as Pat's father. Do you happen to know what It's Pat and Pulp Fiction have in common? Not only did both of these movies come out in the year 1994, but actors Julia Sweeney, Phil Lamar, and Kathy Griffin appear in both movies. And here's the crazy part: Quentin Tarantino co-wrote both films. He's uncredited on It's Pat, but the reason why he did so on that one is because he and Julia Sweeney are actually very good friends in real life. Now, this is just a rumor and not actually confirmed, but apparently Bobby and Peter Farrelly also worked on this script uncredited. When Kyle is trying to figure out the password to Pat's computer diary, the only clue he has is that it's a word in the dictionary. Now, as Kyle goes through every word in the dictionary, the joke is that the last word is the password and it's Zytham. What's interesting though is when that movie was filmed, Zytham was in fact the last word in the dictionary. But as of 2017, it's now Zyzava. Pat sings three karaoke songs in the film: Everybody Loves Somebody by Dean Martin, Le Freak by Chic, and Dude Looks Like a Lady by Aerosmith. But let's be honest, there's only one comedy film that has ever used this song correctly, and it was Mrs. Doubtfire. It's Pat did so poorly in theaters that it was taken out after 1 week. In fact, Julia Sweeney was so upset by the bad reception of this film that after doing an agreed upon appearance as Pat for a mayor for the day in West Hollywood during Halloween, she has since not done the character until just recently. This movie was entirely filmed in California. So when it comes to the film It's Pat, I'm sorry, but I just don't like this one at all. Now, mind you, I also never liked the sketches. I barely ever found them funny, and this movie is just one big long sketch that is full of bad dad jokes and a lot of gender ambiguity that is just not funny. It also has to be extremely difficult to try to make a movie out of a character that is just so unlikable and has no redeeming qualities. So I'm giving this film a 1 out of 5. Now, if you did actually like this one, other films I would probably recommend checking out are Fred the Movie, Freddy Got Fingered, The Pest, and Bucky Larson Born to Be a Star. Now it's time to answer the trivia question from the beginning of this episode. What kind of car does Pat own? So Pat has a driving instructor's vehicle that they got from Pinecone High at a rummage sale for $500. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Askewed Reviews. And keep an eye out, as I mentioned, over the next few months, I'm going to try to do trivia reviews for all of the other SNL sketch movies.